Hello and welcome to the Property Unleashed podcast. It's great to have you all joining us here today. And today I am joined by a special guest. I have a real treat for you, actually. I've got Ellie Cockbain back from up in the Great North, so to speak, as well. Great to have you on, Ellie. How are you today?
Hi, thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm good.
Good, good. So we had Ellie on episode 280, but it was about August last year. We're in 2024 now. It was 2023. And Ellie started to build her own serviced accommodation property business. At the time, she was just having a little trouble getting traction with the agents and with landlords and things. So it's a great little episode for people to go back to just sort of recap. And also there's some great tips and tricks in there as well about how to talk to people and things like that. But ever since that call, it's been great to watch Ellie go from strength to strength. But before I get ahead of myself, Ellie, do you want to just tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, what you've done before you started getting in property, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Ellie, I'm 21 and I'm from a little village called Langley Park that's in Durham. I cover the full northeast. So I've been a full-time police officer for around 3 years now. I've got horses on the side, and some of the girls that I ride with were all into the property, the service accommodation, and I was really quite jealous going to work and watching them ride, to be honest, whenever they wanted. So I thought, yeah, I want a little bit of that. So I jumped straight into it.
Nice, nice. And of course, you came and joined us on the ultimate serviced accommodation business builder as well. What was the sort of thinking behind that one? Because obviously there is a lot of different providers and trainings out there.
Yeah, so I think just watching like you and Graham and sort of seeing you online as well, you go in and I think the amount of value you give for free just shows the amount of value that's actually in the course.
Mm-hmm.
Compared to some of sort of the other big name brands that only want to really entertain you if you've got a bit of money to put towards them. So I'd been and done a few of your little free online things and thought, yeah, actually, if this is for free, there's going to be so much more in the course. So I was like, yeah, we'll just do it. Why not?
Why not? Why not? And I've got to ask you, what did you think of the training of the course?
Yeah, really good. Literally, any questions you've got, if the course doesn't answer it, you or Graham are there to literally answer every single question. And we have the 2 week um group call. So we literally go around everyone pretty much within that call, and any questions, if we can't answer it and the people that were on the mentorship with can't, then you guys do. And it's so helpful because there's so many learning curves to it all, and you've just been really helpful.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. And of course, it's been a year now. You were just saying that your company's come up for renewal. Obviously, your 12 monthly renewal. Brilliant
Yeah.
stuff. So a lot's happened in that time. So let's go back, obviously, to, so to speak, August last year. We'd had a chat on the podcast and things. You were out there. I have to say, some of the methods and the ways that you've been getting out there as well and sharing in the community was really quite exciting. It just goes to show. Now, not being condescending or anything, 21's quite a young age as well to be going out there for people to take you serious, because, you know, a
Yeah.
lot of property investors are quite old, aren't they? I expect you speak to a lot of older people. So has that been a bit of a hindrance to you, do you think, or has that been all right?
I think when you're in the right group, you absolutely fly. Sort of the networking groups that I go to are probably predominantly older people, but the guys in them are so good. We've got one up in Darlington called the Property Thing, and the amount of support that you get just in there is unreal.
Oh, that's good. That is good. That is good. So let's talk about then your first deal.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was actually I was the quiet one when I first started. You wouldn't think that because I do not shut up now. But I was going to the networking in Darlington, and I was sort of just the quieter one in the back, soaking it all up. But I went with one of the girls that I ride with, who's got her own serviced accommodation down in Barnard Castle. So it had been a few weeks from when I'd obviously started doing all the research and stuff, and she'd said to me, Ellie, I've got a house that's come available. It needs a little refurb. I haven't got the time to take it on because she's got a really big management company down in Barnard Castle. It's in Durham. It's close to you. Do you want it? So I was like, absolutely. Jumped on that straight away. And then really, it's just we refurbed that, and it's just been non-stop since then.
And what did you have to do to the property then?
So we got the first 2 months free from the landlord. I actually walked in, which is convenient because the back room in the house was kind of a scroll. So I walked in and clocked that straight away, and I was like, yeah, it's gonna take a few weeks just to air out, never mind painting and everything. So we did basically a full paint on the full house. The downstairs bathroom had a bit of damage, so we went halves on the tiles, and then that was tiled, and then pretty much no new carpet. So it was just painting and little snagging and stuff that we did to it.
And how much do you think that ballpark figure sort of cost you to do?
You're probably looking at, with furniture included, because I love a bit of marketplace, you're probably looking all in about £4,500. Because you'll be very aware that back in the day I loved to do everything myself as well.
Yes, you did. Yes, I remember coaching calls. You were on a coaching call whilst painting the walls, weren't you?
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, but needs must. When we're starting out and everything, needs must. Obviously, as we start to grow, we look to systemize things. We then start to appreciate. Hey, I painted walls when I first started as well. I'm just no good at cutting in. So I used to actually employ a painter, but I could only have him for a day, so to speak, rather than 2 days, because I'd go in there and roll everything and just get him to cut in. But needs must when things are starting out. Now, £4,000 to start your first property is very, very, very good. And what sort of, how's that working for you? What's it sort of cash flowing?
So that one now cash flows me. I pay £650 a month for rent. That is a 3-bed house, 2 super kings and 1 single in the other. And I'm currently profiting £1,200 a month on that because I've got the contractors in for a year.
Oh, marvelous, marvelous stuff. And you have your own little unique way of doing that as well, don't you?
Yeah, I do. So I'm not one, I do like the exercise, but I like my food way more. So I like to take some donuts, normally around 12 donuts, down to site, ask for the site manager, have a bit of gossip with them, and then get them on board to come and stay in my houses.
Amazing stuff, amazing stuff. So basically your first deal, you've had all your money out within 4 months, basically, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you've got that signed up to a 12-month, so to speak, commercial contract.
Yeah, so I've got my first house and my second house are on a 12-month contract, potential for it to be extended depending on how the works go.
Amazing, amazing. Well done on that. I mean, that is hard work paying off. You got stuck and you saw the opportunity. But the thing is as well, people say, oh, Ellie got lucky, but you don't get lucky. You make your own luck. You put yourself into those circumstances, into those situations.
Yeah.
You're listening out for it. Your subconscious is searching for it because you really want to get started in things. And, one of the things I like to say as well is it's not easy. You've had to put a lot of work into these, haven't you?
Yeah, there definitely wasn't just the one box of donuts that went down to that site. There was a good few box of donuts I went to different sites in the area, just with my cards, just so I could sort of stamp my name. So if they ever do have anyone working that needs accommodating in the area, they do just give me a call. But yeah, it's definitely hard. It's not as easy as it looks. There is a lot that goes into it, but it definitely pays off.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we hear about and we see the results, which we're saying, oh, Ellie's got 2 properties there. They're both cash flowing really well. She's got contractors in and things like that. Oh man, that's what I want. It's nice and easy. But like I say, it's not exactly hard, but you've got to put the work in. So it is work that is involved, particularly in the beginning and stuff. So, of course, having the support of being able to fall back, ask myself, ask Graham, ask the community questions and things like that is always great. We see that all the time when we have new people coming in, don't we, that are asking questions. You ask the questions, people supported you, people are asking questions now, and you're supporting them and things. It's really, really nice to see. And, of course, so that took on your first 2, and they were rent-to-rents, weren't they?
Yeah, they were rent-to-rents, them ones. Hopefully by the end of the summer I'll have it in a purchase lease option. My first one. So I'm slowly starting to progress that side of stuff as well.
Well, I know you're keen of building your own property portfolio as well. So, that's great. If you can lock in any purchase lease options from existing landlords, people you're already using, so to speak, it's the low hanging fruit. Why? Because they already know, like, and trust you, don't they? And they can see what you can do. Now, some people, when they're starting out on this, will say, it's all of this, it's all of that. Why would a landlord want to work with me? Why wouldn't they just do it themselves and things? Now, obviously, you've put a bit of money into somebody else's property, doing the service accommodation strategy. When it comes to HMOs and things, I try and look for pre-existing HMOs that are already set up. But a lot of the service accommodation stuff that we do is predominantly buy to let, which could be part furnished, but it's not always furnished to the standards that you want either, is it? But you've gone out there on marketplace, you've bought good items, nice items, furnished it yourself, so to speak, and you've started to build it up like that. But as I say, when people are out there and they're saying, well, how much money do you actually need to get started on this? Did you have quite a big pot of money, or did you have quite a modest pot?
No, to be honest, I had none. Absolutely none. So the first ones, I like to sort of hustle with people and see what I can get out of it. So I literally started with nothing, but because of my job, I had a good credit score and things. So I just went and got some credit cards, sort of anything that I needed to do, it was put on the credit cards, which isn't ideal, but within my first year, they're paid off.
Yeah.
Because there was a good enough strategy in place, and I knew that I backed myself, that I was going to be able to do it.
You've hit the nail on the head. Then you backed yourself. People that saying I can't do this, I can't afford it, and things, is because they just do not have that sort of faith in themselves that they'll make this happen, that they'll get through it. Money ebbs and flows. I used to be terrible years ago. I was like, oh, that's my money. I can't spend it. I can't do anything with it. I just feel comfortable sat on it, and it's the wrong way to be. And that wasn't even a massive amount of money. Don't get me wrong, but when I started my property business, it was a case of, you do have to spend to accumulate at the end of the day. But as long as you're doing good deals, I mean, the monthly rents that you're paying there is really, really good. You're helping the landlord. You've gone halves on tiles. You've uplifted the properties and things. And I think that's the one thing people need to remember is we're not there to take advantage of anybody. That's not the way that we do any property deals, whether, you're doing rent to rent, lease options, you're buying properties. We look to work with people, to help people that are maybe in a sticky situation. So, I mean, those properties that you took on, where was the landlord's head at, do you think, when you first started talking to them?
So the landlord for the first one, he is a landlord that's got lots and lots of houses, but in his own name. So he's been taxed quite sufficiently with that. So I think it works out, he's got something like 52 houses, just in his own name. So when I'd spoken to him and obviously spoken to Helen, who brought me the deal, she's got some with him as well. And his headspace is actually like, there was a cannabis grow in the back room before. Now she's going to uplift the value. She's going to make money for herself, and I'm going to be getting the rent. I did give him a little bit more rent than maybe he wanted, but I knew that I could. So if it's going to work, I'm not greedy in the fact, like, I'll give you the rent.
Yeah, exactly. It's got to be a win-win, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, let me just touch on what is in the back room. What do you call it?
Cannabis grow.
Oh, cannabis growth.
Yeah.
Sorry, you said it's. I was just like, oh, okie dokie. So they had a major problem, didn't they?
Yeah. It was definitely, they had all the stuff set up for the cannabis grow, and the other two rooms were fine, but you're upsetting the neighbours and stuff when you're doing stuff like that. So I think he was happy to have them gone.
Exactly. I bet they panicked as well when they saw you walk in, all suited and booted, all policed up. It's a raid. No, that's great. So those are your first two properties. Got those set up. Got them tenanted, so to speak. Got the clients in there. And what was the next one then?
The next one was a 4-bed on the side of the A1. 2-minute drive out, in sort of 5 minutes away from Durham. Again, that was just out networking. One of the lads that I network with, he said, I'm moving into social housing a bit. One of my other landlords have brought us this house. Do you want it? And I said, yeah, absolutely, why not?
Well, you were at that point, I believe, if I remember correctly, from even on the coaching calls and things, you were at a point where you were saying, I need more houses. I've got plenty of clients, so to speak, lined up that they want to stay in these houses, but I just need more properties. So when people started saying that to you, it's like, yep, I'll take it.
Yeah, definitely.
And what did you have to put into that one?
That one was literally just the paint.
Really?
Yeah, it's a really, really big 4-bed house. It's really nice, actually. It's got a driveway at the front. And I got the rent a little bit cheaper. She had these properties inherited, so she just wants the cash flow to keep her going. So I got the rent a little bit cheaper, and I painted and decorated, and that was it.
Amazing, amazing. So fully furnished?
So I furnished it.
Okay.
But to be fair, from being in all the groups, someone had approached me and said, I've got this business, I'm down in Manchester, I don't normally deliver up north, but I will if you're going to put a big order in. So I put a big order in, and I think I got all my furniture worked out at £1,800.
Wow.
That was a Super King, 2 doubles, 2 wardrobes, 4 sets of drawers, and a single bed. So you can't complain really for that.
Certainly not. Certainly not. I mean, that's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And is that sort of cash flow in the same numbers?
Yeah. So that'll profit me around about 1,200.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's not too far away from the uni either. So it does really well with Durham University. But if it doesn't perform, my backup plan is it'll work unreal as a HMO. So
yeah, that's it. There's always different, you can repurpose things, change things around. So that was deal number 4. I know you've got overall 10 deals now, so to speak, in different methods, in different ways and stuff. So what was the last rent-to-rent one then, the 4th one, so to speak?
So I don't know whether it's a common thing or it's just a northern thing, but we have loads of like village group chats. Okay. Which would be like Langley Park, have your say, Coxer, chit chat. And I'd put myself in all of the chats just to see what was coming about. And someone had put a post on saying, I've got this house coming for rent. Basically message me if you want it. So I just messaged her and said, I'll take it off you. And she was like, yeah, no worries, that's fine.
Amazing. And what was that?
That's in Boburn. That's currently being refurbed now. Okay. So I got the keys at the start of this month. The interior designer's been in and we're just on painting. So she ultimately didn't want the house. She's got no interest in as being a landlord, but it brought a mortgage down on her other house, so she had to keep it. So she was like, yeah, if you can put it on a 3-year lease, that means I'm not speaking to you for 3 years and I've got no trouble, take it. So I was like, yeah, absolutely.
Marvellous. I mean, absolutely brilliant, isn't it? And I just got to say to people, it's about being consistent and persistent in your approach, always being on it, always putting yourself out there, always looking for different avenues as well. And some people say to me, with HMOs and things as well, with the tenants that we have and stuff, how do you find tenants or how do you keep tenants? And it's about making little communities. And I love those Facebook groups, not necessarily Facebook for finding tenants. I will say that and things, because that's not always you're not always attracting, unfortunately, the greatest set of people. But it is great for finding landlords, for people in need, to just start and spark a conversation and see where it takes you, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, don't get me wrong, these are not the only 4 houses that I've been to visit.
Yeah.
Like, I had to read a book, Go for No, which is literally just keep getting no's until you get the yeses. And then I just pick the best ones out of them.
Well, you had quite a few opportunities and you put quite a few offers in with different people before you even got your first deals, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I'd been gone and I kept putting the deals in and the offers in, but nothing ever came of it. But everything happens for a reason, and I've built the connections now within the community that I have a specific deal sourcer that comes to me and says, I've got 50 refurbs on at the minute. How many would you like? So I don't just buy them for me. I help some of the other guys, and I manage for them as well.
Yeah. So obviously service accommodation is great. It's great to do rent to rent to sort of cut your teeth, get started and stuff, start to build your systems. Once you've built your systems, then of course you can offer a serviced accommodation management service. And that's another thing that we go into, you know, a lot of detail in the training, which is showing you the different methods and ways to do SA. Everybody thinks it's Rent2SA and stuff. That's just one of them. But it's really about being able to go into all situations and seeing what suits the owners, because rent to rent, believe it or not, doesn't always suit the owners. Sometimes they're quite happy just to have a management company, so to speak, looking after it. Why? Maybe they've had management companies in the past and that's just what they're used to. So now you've also, you know, you've got 6 properties under management now. And how did that sort of come about?
So the management came about just being in the communities really for like at the networking and stuff. So I'd been out, sort of people were getting a grip to what I do and how actually it was working and the contractors that I was pulling in. Because I think people in the north struggle a little bit for the direct bookings. So when they seen that I was getting the bookings, they were like, wow, give me a bit of that. So yeah, that's sort of how it slowly started to come to me. I think some of the management in the area as well maybe isn't doing as well as the guests and the landlords would like. So sort of people have been coming to me from other management companies and saying, what can you offer? Can you offer me anything better?
Oh, that's good. That's good. And so are those ones for contractors, or are you're working with Danny on a few things as well, aren't you?
Yeah, so Danny works quite closely with some of the councils up here in emergency housing for the vulnerable children. And we had a referral for one when he very first picked it up. I think I was one of the first to get a placement. So I put them in one of mine as a test drive. And it went really well, to be fair. So I think the more I talk about that side of things, I'm getting quite a lot of detached bungalows coming through as well.
Okay.
Because that's specific to really what Danny's after. There's a big cry for a detached bungalow. So if I can take them to Danny and help that way as well, yeah, we do get a lot of bungalows.
Are you the operator, so to speak, for that in that area then?
Yeah, so they operate in, I think the councils are with Middlesbrough and Durham,
Right.
that we operate with. But to be honest, the northeast are quite happy for the children to go anywhere as long as it's within the northeast.
Okay.
So, like from the policing background as well, it's very rare that you'll find a child that's not northern outside of the northeast.
Makes sense.
We have a lot of south children come in, but not many leave. I think that's probably because of the rent up here as well. It's probably cheaper.
Yep, yep, yep. And that's got to feel quite rewarding as well. I mean, we've had Danny on the podcast. Danny O'Brien, obviously, he does serviced accommodation, but he houses vulnerable children, and he's grown it across the country. He's a member of our community as well. So I think the crusade that, so to speak, he's on. You're obviously helping that as well. It's an amazing thing, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I see this stuff day in, day out, working as a response officer. So there's not a day where I'm not chasing a missing child down the street, because essentially the house that they're in doesn't fit their needs.
Yeah.
Sort of when we're providing the houses that are literally in the middle of fields, they're so much more settled because they know there's nothing around them for them to do a run at a sea. There's no bus routes or nothing. So yeah, it's so much more rewarding, definitely.
Yeah. So if anybody's in, so to speak, the northeast that has a property, maybe it's not performing the way that they'd like, and they'd like to have a little chat with Ellie, would you be up for that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, give me a message or we can jump on a call and we can sort something out. Absolutely. Only solutions, not problems.
That's it. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. So, I mean, you've got your 4 rent-to-rents, you've got 6 under management, you've got a business now of 10 properties. Let's say, for argument's sake, you started 12 months ago, give or take the odd month, and that's not bad going over 12 months, is it?
No, I honestly can't complain at all. The plan's not to stay in the job forever. response policing doesn't have the best impact on you. So I'm looking to move out of that. So if I can do it within a year, yeah, absolutely, we'll be flying.
Did you think 12 months ago that you'd be sat doing what you're doing now, or was it just like that was your vision, but you weren't 100% sure? What do you think?
No, I knew I wanted to do it, and I backed myself to do it. I just didn't think it would come as fast. But yeah, since I got that first deal, literally things have been non-stop, and I'm forever grateful for that, because I don't want to work the rest of my life as a 9 to 5.
I would say, short-term pain, and it's not pain, short-term hard work gives you a long-term game. It gives you choices, doesn't it? I mean, the fact of the matter is now that we're having this conversation and you have choices now, don't you? You're not just like I was as well for, 16 odd years in the corporate world, thinking to myself, I just need to make sure that I keep my job and hopefully I'll get a pension, retirement fund. And this is it for the next, 30, 40 years or whatever. You've got yourself to a point now that, maybe a few more properties, maybe you want a bit more security. I know for a fact you'll back yourself because you've done nothing but back yourself this whole time. And you're like a little pocket rocket, so to speak, because you just fly in there, but you've got such a great nature and such a drive as well. And that's the one thing that I would say to other people, and I'd love to get your take on this as well, is when somebody actually backs themselves to get started. Now, we see it ourselves in our community. Some people come in and fly. Some people come in and are steady away. I mean, there's a lot of successful people now in our community from the post, getting bookings and all the time. But some people do fall by the wayside as well. And I really just believe that the only difference between myself, between you, between somebody that falls by the wayside is we back ourselves 100% to say, this is going to happen. Okay, I'm not going to stop until I get the results that I want. What do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think from my experience, the amount of negativity around you that you have does have an impact on you. Knowing that myself, the amount of people that I've had come up to me that are in the job and they're like, well, policing, like, you can retire really early, you'll get a really good pension, and the negativity that you get in your ear, if you let that affect you, you're never going to get anywhere. I'm at the point where you just sit and agree and just let them do them and you do you, because if you're not backing yourself, you're genuinely not going to get anywhere, because you've got to have the grit to do it.
Exactly. And we all have naysayers around us, even if you've got support from your closest family because they believe in you and things. People sometimes, when I say doubt you as well, even some of your loved ones, they might not doubt you. They fear for you. They think it's risky. Their mindset is, if you lose money, that's a seriously bad thing. Now, don't get me wrong. It's not great to lose money, but if you lose money and you learn something from it, which is not to do that again, it's just a learning, isn't it? And we pay for all sorts of learnings. And I think some of the older mindset, some of my family members have been on board. They've been like my biggest cheerleaders, so to speak, as well. And there's been a few that I wouldn't say they doubted me. Maybe they have, maybe they haven't. I've never asked them, but they certainly had the comments that said, well, that's risky. You shouldn't be doing that. You should be, have your head down in your career and everything. And I think it's more down to them than it is to me. Whereas I always backed myself to say that you only fail if you stop, don't you? So you still have that sort of, other elements there that you've had people, saying, well, what do you think? Why are you doing this? Who do you think you are, so to speak?
Yeah. There's people constantly in my ear saying, like, whoa, Ellie, like, are you sure that's a lot of money? But I'm at the point now where if I lost it all tomorrow, I could just make it all again.
Exactly. I love it. Yeah. And that's it. You've hit the nail on the head there. I've said exactly the same. If my cards came tumbling down and I lost everything today, I am very safe in the knowledge that I know exactly what to do now, and I do it probably quicker and better than I did the first time, because you're going to be better. And it's like when you look at, people who are very, very wealthy, very, very rich, and their companies just go bang and under. They're still driving around in Rolls Royces and things like that. You know what I mean? They've got the money back very, very quickly. Why? Because they know how to do it. And I think that's the one thing is, you now know how to do it and things. So obviously you've got a few properties now. What's the day-to-day like? Because you're still working a full-time job. It must be quite, is it challenging managing and looking after all these properties whilst obviously still having a day job?
Yeah, so we're in the process of literally systemizing everything. So we've sort of got our channel managers that send all of that out. We've just onboarded with Graham's guest flow. So all the guest side of things, the messaging, the IDs, sort of all of that is literally in hand with the software that we've got. And we're in the process of taking on a VA because I'm building a business. I'm not building myself to be in the business.
Love that. Love that. And that is very, very important. And, you know, one of those things is once you've got, we say a handful of properties, you've got cash flow coming in. It's about, right, what can I budget now to start getting some of the admin stuff sorted for me? I mean, your strength is obviously going out there, doing the deals, finding the deals. That's where the money is for your business. So what's the future hold for Ellie? What are your plans? What do you want to grow?
So I'm gonna take on. I want to take on some more management, grow the management side of things, and then I'm looking to expand my portfolio. Really, I want to do some flips. That's got a real interest in me, just because I love walking into broken houses and making them look pretty. And just growing the portfolio for multiple streams. So I've been in communication about taking some HMOs on as well.
Okay.
Just growing it in all aspects, really. I just want to put myself into the property space as much as I can.
Yeah, I think that's good. Also, I always think it's quite good to diversify what you've got
Yeah.
there. You know, people will have heard me say it a million times, but I like to think of my wealth as a bucket. I want many different taps, a bit of service accommodation, a bit of HMOs, you know, some purchase lease options there, maybe some other businesses as well. It just helps me sleep at night to know that if something happens, and, you know, I can't foresee the future, but if something happens, I've still got revenue coming through different channels and things. It's very, very unlikely that everything that I've got building my wealth up and paying for my lifestyle is all going to stop at once. And if it does, I'm not the only one that's got some major problems. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. That's just it. I know now that if everything went right down the pothole with the job, I know that I could just this business now would just take over. I've got mine, but then I've got the management side, and I only hope to grow all of that.
Okay, brilliant. Absolutely amazing. So let me just ask you a couple of questions then. What would you say your biggest challenge has been so far?
Um, I think probably my biggest challenge is getting people to take me seriously. I would say. I think probably it's because of my age. And I think in the industry now, there's a lot of younger people coming in that maybe don't do any of the coaching or anything like that. And they're sourcing and selling a lot of bad deals,
Yeah.
or they're renting and they're just tipping the house upside down. It's not being handed back. So I think there's probably a barrier in speaking to the older people, sort of within property, when they don't know yet.
Yeah.
Um, just because they're like, oh, she's a 21-year-old, what does she know? But 9 times out of the 10, there's some of the people that I speak to, I probably just do know more than them.
Well, you do, because a lot of people don't get educated. They get to a point where they just think, oh, well, I know it all now. And that's the old way of thinking, isn't it? Whereas we're always staying up to date with the latest, you know, trends, the latest regulations, what's going on. And it does mean that, you know, we all start at one level, but we start to, when you educate yourself, get to a higher level there. And once you're there, it's very difficult then to just sort of talk to people who are set in their ways. But I also think that when you build a property business, obviously it's a bricks and mortar is property, but it's all about relationships as well. And I would never do a deal or even a management deal with somebody that I couldn't get along with, so to speak. Now, we don't have to be best mates. In fact, we don't want to be. It's got to be a good working relationships, but for me, on the same page. So is that what you found with the people you've worked with?
Yeah, definitely. I'm picky in who I like to work with, because if we get along, it just makes your life so much easier. Like it really, really does. And someone I think that has a bit of knowledge of the background and how it all works, it's just so much easier.
And having built this business now, what do you like most about it?
Um, I think it's probably the making the houses look the prettiest, and then getting the people in And then the compliments. I love the compliments from them. We've got an interior designer at the minute in one of the houses. And even my painter and decorator said to me yesterday, Ellie, I'm not going to lie, I thought it was going to look really bad, but actually it looks mint. So,
It's
yeah.
funny that, isn't it? I've got a really good painter. And when we get him to decorate things, obviously we get him to paint ceilings the same color as walls, because that's the way it is now, isn't it? It's all of those. And even he's like, well, it's going to take 2 coats to get this back to white. I said, well, maybe we don't want it back to white. Maybe that's just the old way of thinking. And he's always, even at the end, he says the same. He's like, I didn't think it'd look as good as that.
Yeah. No, literally, we've got a black ceiling in the bathroom at the minute, and the painter was having a heart attack, but he's like, oh, I quite like it now.
Yeah, it does. It does. We've done that. Actually, we've done that in our own home. So we've got a very white kitchen, but we've gone like charcoal sort of black along the ceiling and down one of the walls, and it just makes it looks really, really smart. We knew it would because we'd already seen pictures of it out from a different property. But when the painter came to do it, he was just like, oh, I'm not sure of this, I'm not sure of that. But now he gets it. He's just like, just get on and do it, man. Just get on and do it. Just paint what we tell you to paint with it. But no, that's good. So that's one of the things you enjoy, obviously, is creating that sort of home space, that living space for your clients and things. And then obviously the reviews come with it.
Yeah, definitely. We predominantly do contractors, but I think the spec that we do them to, the families love them just as much. So yeah, it's really rewarding getting someone to stay in your house as opposed to the Premier Inn down the road.
Well, that's it. That's it. So you yourself now looking at buying properties, looking at building your own portfolio and things alongside that as well. And I'm really, really thrilled to see what you're going to be doing over the next 12 months after seeing what you've done over this 12 months, which has been hugely great stuff. Now, when I have a guest on, I do like to have a little quick fire round at the end and ask them a few questions because I'm always interested to see what the answers are. You all right with that?
Yeah, go for it.
Good stuff, good stuff. So what's the best advice you've been given?
The best advice, it probably would be just back yourself. Genuinely, like, if you don't believe that you're going to do it, you're not. Like, you can be filled with as much knowledge as possible, but if you don't believe in yourself that you're going to succeed in doing that, then there's no point having the knowledge because you're not following through with it.
Love that. Great point. Great point. If you could sit down with 3 people, dead or alive, who would you like to sit down and have dinner with?
The first one probably would be my mum. She died when I was 14, so she doesn't know. She's definitely not property. So I would honestly think she would be bending over backwards, screaming at me right now, calling me crazy. So I would love that. And then the other ones, do you know what? They probably would be just some of the people that I've met that I'm probably no longer friends with because I focused on this instead of going out and partying and things. Is probably what it would be. Just the ones that didn't back me, just so I could literally sit down and say, I told you so, because I love being right.
Love it. Okay, no problem. That's really, really cool. Do you listen to podcasts?
Yeah, I do. I listen to podcasts.
Like three go-to podcasts?
So the Girls in Property podcast, love that. That's going to be doing big things. I really enjoy that. Sam Cook's Blue Bricks magazine. I enjoy listening to that. I'm constantly listening to yours.
Oh, I'll give you that. Thank you.
And then a book I would say is Steve Durant's Burn the Bullshit. Is really good. Just about putting yourself out of your comfort zone and doing what you know you need to do, if that makes sense, and just biting the bullet and getting to grips of yourself and go and stand in a room and scream and let everybody look at you. That sort of stuff, that's just not giving a care in the world about what anybody else thinks, just getting on and doing it.
Brilliant. I like that. You jumped straight into my next question as well. So there you go. Any other books that you've read and recommend or...
I think all the others would probably be your generic Rich Dad, Poor Dad, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Going through the basics at the end of the day. If you haven't gone through those, you've got to read them just to experience them, haven't you? Have those aha moments.
Yeah, literally.
Or listen to them. Brilliant, Ellie. Absolutely. Always a pleasure to have you on. I look forward to hopefully getting you on again in the future when you've done a few more deals or whatever you're going to be getting up to. Potentially, you know, be there to celebrate as well when you leave the day job and you go full-time in property. I don't think that's going to be very long, do you?
No, definitely not. I've got it in my head now that I'm going, so I don't like to be wrong, so it's got to be done.
It's got to be done. It's got to be done. Yeah, sometimes we hang on to something too long, but I believe with the way that you back yourself and everything, as long as you've got the financials covered, you know what you're bringing in, you know what you're doing, then don't stick around. Go out there and, you know, supercharge your property investing. If anybody sat on the fence when it comes to, you know, the ultimate property, the ultimate serviced accommodation business builder, ultimate property training, if anybody's interested in that or sat on the fence with that, what sort of advice would you give them?
Do you know what? Literally just do it. That is the only thing you can do. You're going to regret not doing it more than you're going to regret doing it. That's literally the high and low of it. Just jump in and do it.
And let's leave with some pearls of wisdom from Ellie as well. What advice would you just give anybody out there at the moment?
What advice would I give? That is such a good one. You've put me on the spot there. What advice would I give? It would probably be when you're doubting yourself and everybody else is around you doubting you, just take a step back, look at the situation, and then just jump in.
Okay, brilliant. Great advice. You heard it, you heard it here first. Just jump in, get stuck in and everything.
Just jump in. You're going to regret not doing it more than you're going to regret doing it.
That's it. I always say, what's the worst that can happen? If at the end of the day, you know, it's not that bad, go for it. And if it's not that bad, it's not. But also look at the plus side. What actually can you gain out of it? Well, as I say, again, great to have you on, Ellie. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. And of course, if you are interested in the ultimate serviced accommodation business builder, then I am more than happy to jump onto a 20-30 minute call with you, have a little chat about it, see whether it's right for you. It's not right for everybody, to help and support you. So, Ellie, it's been an honor to have you joining us here. It's been a long time coming as well, hasn't it? I've had to chase you a few times to get you on here.
Yeah, like I say, I'm quite stubborn. So I'd said until I've got my 4th deal, I'm not coming on, but I've got my 4th now, so we're rocking and rolling.
Got your 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th as well. Absolutely jumping through.
Yeah.
Great stuff, great stuff. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode as much as I have, and you get out there and you actually make things happen. If you need any help or assistance, then do check out thepropertyunleashed.com. We have a lot of free tools and resources. As Ellie was saying there, she went through a lot of those to see whether serviced accommodation was right for her. So we are there to help and support everybody. Why? Because what goes around comes around in life. And I did exactly the same when I was starting out as well. So it's great to see and help others on their property investing journey. If you've enjoyed this, please feel free to share, like, and subscribe. And if nothing else, come and join me in the next episode very soon. You all take care, and bye for now.